Hey everybody, it's 12 o'clock Pacific time. We're live and so excited to be with you guys again this week. We have probably the one person that's helped more than anyone else on this on our groups. Today we have Shay Felknor from Greenville, South Carolina, and Terry Gilliam. How you doing, Terry?
Never better, David. It's a beautiful day in Central Florida. 70 degrees today. It is awesome outside, not a cloud in the sky.
Well, I know that this is your favorite realtor. I don't know if we're supposed. Oops, I probably am not supposed to say that. But Terry, go ahead. You could do the introductions,
We're
and
all his favorites.
Terry's going to drive the ship today. So go ahead, take it away, Terry.
Thanks, David. Yes, Shay has by far been our number one realtor for helping people move to the Greenville, Spartanburg, upstate South Carolina area from our groups. She has helped many members happily relocate there. I've spent a lot of time with Shay in Greenville. I love Greenville. The downtown is incredible. It's beautiful. Shay spent the whole day showing me all around the Greenville area, and I absolutely loved it. And for anybody considering leaving California, moving to a free state that allows you to have a lot more freedoms than you can get in California, I would highly recommend Shay. So Shay, why don't you say hello, and it's great to have you with us today.
Terry, thank you, and David both for having me. It's an honor, and it's been a privilege to work with you for what, three and a half years now, I guess, something like that.
At least.
Yeah. So, yeah, I represent Greenville. I also lived in California. I lived in the San Fernando Valley right out of college. That was a culture shock. Went through a couple of earthquakes. That was quite moving, literally. And then moved up to San Luis Obispo, and I thought I had discovered heaven, but that was a number of years ago. So my move back to the East Coast is nothing like what everyone's experiencing today. I left for family reasons, and a lot of people now are just looking for freedoms that they don't otherwise have. So in Greenville, I moved back here because I grew up here. I grew up in the upstate, and so this is home for me. So I know a lot about it. So I am truly an ambassador to the area. I have helped a lot of people explore the Greenville area, trying to figure out if this is where they wanted to live. So I felt like a tour guide for a long time, which was a lot of fun for me. So give tours, help people kind of understand a little bit more about the area, what the upstate has to offer. Because, first of all, and I think a lot of the agents you've talked to on here, it's not about trying to find the house. You can find a house anywhere, but I spend time getting to know people because I want to understand what they want their life to be like. They're obviously moving here for something different. So what do you want your life to be like? And so once I kind of nail down which part of the upstate I think that they would be happiest in, the houses come much later. But
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, where Greenville is situated, it's a beautiful area. We've got the best of both worlds. We have mountains, we have lakes, we have rivers. In fact, the Reedy River runs right through the center of Greenville. I think that's probably the most iconic view that people do have is Greenville downtown with the suspension bridge over, it's a suspended bridge, pedestrian bridge right over the Reedy River. But the mountains are very close and doesn't take too long to get to the coast, 3.5 hours. So we have quite a bit to offer here.
Well, for those people, go ahead, David.
No, I was just curious because I've never been there, and Terry always talks about how amazing it is. I was curious how many people live in Greenville. What's the population like?
Well, as of 2020, it was 70,000, but we've grown tremendously over the last 2 years.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed when I was visiting there, as you said, you get the best of all worlds. You get great culture. Downtown is really kind of an eclectic art kind of thing, vibe to it, but yet it's a conservative area for those who are looking to move to a more normal place. But as you said, you've got great food downtown. You've got, I mean, and jobs. Tell us about what goes on in Spartanburg.
So in Spartanburg, specifically what though in
BMW,
Spartanburg? Oh yeah.
BMWs.
So we have a lot of multinational corporations in the upstate. We've got Michelin, GE, BMW, and of course all of their suppliers as well. So there are lots of job opportunities here for sure.
Yeah, and so tell us about the schools also, universities, high schools, things like that.
Okay, so we are close to Clemson University, my alma mater, but I was always a University of South Carolina fan. Poor Gamecocks didn't bode well
No, they
this
didn't.
past Saturday.
Mm.
I fell asleep at halftime and then realized I didn't miss much. So, but there is no shortage of rabid rivalry here in the upstate. I mean, you're in the heart of the SEC land, and I think some of the toughest schools are in that conference. So I always tease that Clemson, they play a bunch of high school teams, but anyway, I'll leave that for another day.
Well, and as a Florida State graduate, I'm very happy about what's happening with my Seminoles this year. I know that's completely off topic, but it's hard to not get excited about what Florida State is doing this year. So I can appreciate
Right.
the rivalries that go on. Well,
Yeah,
tell us about
it was a good weekend.
Yeah, tell us about the weather. That's always a concern. People are like, "Oh my gosh, California." Well, you lived in San Fernando Valley. That was beautiful weather there. You move to Greenville, you've got humidity, you've got heat in the summertime. Oh my gosh, we're all going to melt. But tell us about the weather year round and so what people can expect.
Well, the thing about it is we just have to be realistic. It's all relative. I mean, no matter where you are, there is some form of extreme weather or extreme conditions. And the South is no different. We just happen to have humidity, and it happens, and it's real. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is real. It, every day's a bad hair day when that happens, and it's usually around July and August. So, I would say leading up to July, it's very pleasant. Had someone visit from California, from the Santa Rosa area. She was asking me, and it was the beginning of June. She said, "Does it get more humid than this?" And I was like, "We're in the pleasant weather right now." And she said, "But I don't like air conditioning." And I said, "Oh, you will in July and August." So anyway, I knew she wouldn't make the move. But it's not for the faint of heart, but neither is earthquakes, or 110-degree, desert heat. It's just not. And it depends, just pick your poison. I've lived in both areas. I prefer it here. We do have air conditioning. There are ways to avoid the humidity, but it is very real. And people ask about the bugs. I know. Yes. Everybody has something, when I was living in San Luis Obispo, I was worried about mountain lions, hiking with my dog. But here we have smaller, smaller predators. Those are mosquitoes. So they are real, but they aren't as bad as they used to be. But yes, they're real.
Well, and I would agree. Just as a native Floridian who was gone for 37 years, when I came back to Florida, there were way less mosquitoes now than there ever was, and less roaches, and less. When I grew up in Florida, it may have been the same way in South Carolina. I don't care who you are and what you did, you had roaches in your house.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a roach in months here in Florida because we have modern pest control. They'll even spray for mosquitoes if you want them to. But I don't have them spray for mosquitoes because I don't get bitten by mosquitoes anymore. So
I know.
Well, it's very different now than it used to be.
I think if you're going to be around stagnant water, you can't avoid mosquitoes, but we just don't really have a lot of that here in the upstate.
Well, you haven't touched on winter yet. So can you tell us about what winter's like in Greenville? And then also, do you have is skiing an option if people want to ski?
So if you want to ski, you're going to have to go to North Carolina, and then it might be man-made snow. We do have flights out of here to Denver, though. You can go to Colorado and do some real skiing. So GSP is an international airport. You can leave the country if you want to, but there are always options. But you're not going to have any snow around here worth skiing in, because we might have it I said this to one of my California clients. I said, you know, it only snows maybe one day out of the year, and then it's gone that afternoon. And that year we had a snow that stayed around for a week. So that was an anomaly, though. That was a very rare occasion. But seriously, it might rain it might snow maybe just one day out of the year, but that's it.
You want to say something, David?
Yeah, I was thinking, I wanted to go back to the area again, Shay, and this is a really popular place. I was surprised. We had made some posts about Greenville, and there were we got a lot of people asking questions. So if we could talk a little bit about real estate, the geographical areas you cover, and talk about real estate, maybe a little about price points, inventory, and things like that along the real estate lines for the listeners that are interested in your area. And maybe you could share with me why is it so many people are choosing your area? What's the biggest, what do you think the biggest reason is?
Well, David, I'd love, if you're ever out here, just let me know, because I'll give you the same tour I gave Terry. But it is just such a wonderful place to be. There's so much to do. When it comes to the arts, we have everything, you know, performing, culinary, visual. We have a lot of venues and a lot of events, a lot of festivals that happen here. And they're all centered around art, music, and food, with an element of giving back. So a lot of these festivals have a giving back element, supporting a lot of the nonprofits and charities here in the upstate. But we have a lot of parks, trails, there's endless opportunities for hiking. It's just a very pleasant place to be. And the weather, with the exception of July and August, is very mild. So I do want to mention, I make this available to everybody who is interested in learning more about the upstate. I've put together a relocation guide that I will send to anyone who wants it. Just drop me a line or call me if you want to text me at 864-884-8651, or just drop me a private message. I'll be glad to send it to you. Just need to know the best email address. But it has a lot of links that answer that question. You know, what is there to do here? Mm-hmm. It's not real estate centric. It's more about, you know, things to do, tours. We've got, you know, foodie tours, historical tours. We've got biking tours, mixed cocktail tours. Just about everything you can possibly think of, we have here. But anyway, I'll be glad to send that list, because it does include the events, festivals. There's even a website called Kidding Around Greenville, I think is what it is. It's just things to do with your kids. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful website, just full of information. But I'll be glad to send that. It's about 2 or 3 pages worth of stuff. So it'll keep you busy looking if you really want to know what the upstate has to offer.
And then if you were going to talk about, we had quite a few people that were interested. And if we're talking about real estate, what are, you know, the price points and the different areas that you recommend? And maybe you could talk about the different communities and stuff.
Sure. So I cover about an hour radius outside of Greenville. So that would include Anderson County, parts of Spartanburg County, Oconee County, and Pickens County. That would be Travelers Rest. I'll just name some of the highlights. You know, there's Travelers Rest, Simpsonville, Career, Taylors, Powdersville, Easley, Anderson, Pickens, Piedmont, Lake Keowee, Lake Hartwell. So if you were to look at Lake Keowee, that covers a wide, you know, array of places, you know, like Salem, Seneca, Westminster, Union. Yeah, and Sunset. I mean, you know, there are just too many little places to name. But
so that's a lot of communities out there. What is the price points look like? What are the price points?
So here out of the Greenville MLS, our average price point is about 371,000, and that's up 4% year over year from last year, which is quite an improvement over the previous 2 years, because we had such a surge of people coming into the upstate that we experienced a 12% increase in the average price point year before last, and then last year was 13.8, which is just unsustainable. So I'm glad it's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to see that it slowed down. So now we're just up, 4%. I mean, prices are continuing to rise, but at a more reasonable pace now. So, 372, 371, that's about the average price point. Days on market, once you list something, it'll be on the market an average of 46 days. That's an improvement over, the 2 weeks that we were seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, just by lunchtime, you list something and lunchtime is like 20 offers. It's crazy. Nobody could compete in that environment. I want to talk about months supply of inventory. In case you don't know, a 6-month supply is a balanced market. So that means it's neither a buyer's nor a seller's market. Anytime you drop below 6 months, it is a seller's market. If you go over 6 months, it's a buyer's market. So we are at a 3.3 months supply of inventory. So it's still a seller's market, but with interest rates rising and longer days on market, the buyers have less competition, if that makes any sense. So you can actually get a reasonable deal. You're not having to go 25, 30, 50,000 over asking just to get a home, which was those were not fun times.
In our podcast, in the last few weeks, most of the realtors have been talking about seller concessions. And even though it is still a seller's market, are you still seeing seller concessions in your market?
Seeing that come back, yes. That's starting to come back.
Which that's the first time in years, right?
It is.
I know you still, in some cases, you still get multiple offers, right? On homes.
It depends on the location and the price point, because there are some neighborhoods, they're going to go into multiple offers no matter what. It's just they're in high demand. But it's just not as crazy as it was. I mean, a couple of years ago, people were making offers sight unseen and waiving appraisal, waiving termite inspections, waiving all inspections, just give me the house, and still losing. I mean, it was just nuts. And it was I had one client, we made 9 offers before we ever got the house.
Wow.
That was my record.
Wow.
But it's not that rabid now, thank goodness.
Yeah. Well, can you just off the top of my head, can you tell us why it's called upstate?
Well, if you want to get technical, it's actually supposed to be called the upcountry.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, the historians will correct you. It's upcountry.
Upcountry, okay.
Upcountry, yeah. I don't know the history on that. I just know what's proper and what's not, but somehow it morphed into upstate, and everybody kind of embraced it. But yeah, the old timers will tell you upcountry.
Upcountry,
We
okay.
have upcountry, Midlands, and low country.
Okay, and Midlands is the middle of the state?
It is Columbia.
Okay. So as you're getting closer to the ocean, does it go that way? Upstate or upcountry is Greenville, which is further to the west, and then mid-state is towards Columbia, and then the ocean, like Myrtle Beach, place like that, that's low country?
Yeah, it's really more specifically like the Hilton Head area, Charleston area. Yeah.
Okay, great. Can you tell us the type of people you're seeing move into Greenville that you're working with?
Yeah, I mean, they are moving, the kind of people that I'm seeing move here, they're just wanting a different way of life from what they have. And a lot of people are moving here not to change the way we live, but they want to embrace what we have to offer. So more often than not, I'm seeing people who are moving here are of a conservative mindset or a medical freedom mindset. I mean, not to get too political, but that's what we're seeing.
I know from talking to the Kellys a few weeks ago, they moved there because they wanted a place where they could live, where their kids could go out and play without the parents worrying about who knows what. They can go down the street, and they love all their neighbors, and everybody knows everybody. Nobody's a stranger. And if there is a stranger, then everybody knows there's a stranger. So I just think that kind of freedom, just having that peace of mind is amazing. I'll tell you a quick story. When my wife and I in California, We had a very small backyard, and then when we were single, and then we had a child, and we're like, well, we can't just let him go in the front yard. My gosh, who knows what will happen to him? So we actually spent a ton of money to expand our backyard and fenced it in so that our child would have a place to play without us worrying about them. So it's nice to know that, well, and I have that here in Central Florida too, where kids can go and the parents don't have to worry about what's going on with them. They're out having a normal lifestyle and having a normal life.
I know. Yeah. In fact, I just saw them this past weekend. I always do family photos every year for my clients. And so they came out, but when they first visited here, it really broke my heart because they were talking, I'm talking about the Kellys. I met them at one of those gathering spots, which is a very popular concept here, where it's kind of like it's common space with restaurants and breweries around within walking distance, but all seating is shared. Mm-hmm. And so we went to one of those places, and they had kind of this playground area for the kids to run. And it was the first time their children in like 7 months had played with other kids, because it was in the height of COVID when they came out to visit. And it was just, I don't know, it made you really appreciate what we have here. Even more so than just hearing them talk about how restricted their lives were. I mean, the kids hadn't played with anybody in 7 months. And they were out there running around with other children, just having a ball. So I take a lot for granted here, for sure.
Amen.
So, Terry, I want to say this, Shay was one of the first realtors that I met in the group, and Terry was speaking so highly of you. So when I first met you, Shay, you're kind of like my mentor. And I don't know if I ever told you that, but just with the group and the way that you handle things. So sometimes when I'm thinking of situations and people, I think of you, and I think of the way that you treat people. And every week when we do these, we talk about how, the realtor is not just trying to make a sale. They're not trying to make a commission. And I think that Shay is the epitome of that. And Shay always offers people to fly in, drive them around, show them their city. So Shay, I always think about you. So, every week when we do this, we're talking to people that are thinking about leaving California, and they may not be thinking about coming to where you live, but just if you could enlighten some of the people that are on the fence and some of the things that you share with your clients when they're making that decision. That's a big, big decision to leave California and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think of you, and if you could share and elaborate on that, that would be awesome.
No, thank you for your kind comments. I really appreciate that, David. I really do live by putting the needs of others ahead of, putting their needs ahead of mine. And then, my needs just will be taken care of. But it's just all about, doing the right thing for people. I think if you are looking to pick up your roots and move across the country, no matter how far it is, that's a big move. It's a daunting experience. And I feel like being with, a realtor who is going to take that into consideration and not just try to sell you a house is really important, because you're going to need to lean on that person for a lot of different things. I mean, I do more than just tour people around and, eventually sell them a house if that happens. We have to get acclimated with what doctors to use, what insurance companies to use, where's the nearest, I don't know, eye doctor. So there's a lot more to it, than it's not just about selling a house. It's about helping someone, with their life and what their goals are. But it's a big deal, picking up and moving. So it's not something to be taken lightly. And I've told so many of my clients, I said, I really admire your courage, and your strength to be able to do this, all for the sake of giving your kids a better life. I mean, that's a big deal. It's a really big deal. So, I mean, I've helped people with, interviews in schools, looking for somewhere for their child to do gymnastics, even, helped arrange a practice session, so, and they didn't move here, but they were able to, check the boxes. Does this work for my family? So that you just have to do that. It's not about selling houses.
It's interesting, because when I first met you, I realized really fast what kind of a realtor you are and how passionate you were about helping people. But the other thing that I learned really quickly was how passionate you are about this group. Like, this group means so much to you. And
Mhm.
when I talked to Terry about who he vetted and who he picked as realtors to be in this group, I think you were one of the first ones he picked. And Terry, maybe you want to talk a little bit about that, but Shay is really, really amazing. And she's such a good mentor for a lot of the realtors that we have in the group, including me.
Well, yeah, and she
Oh,
came in
thanks,
with a lot of
David.
great ideas too about the groups. So yeah, Shay's been a valuable member for years. One of the first realtors I think we even had joined the group. And I got to tell you, when she joined, I didn't know the first thing about Greenville. I'd never been there. I've been there twice now. Love it. And so she's been great about helping members. And again, she participates in the group. She educates people on why they should consider Greenville. She doesn't say, this is the place you got to move. She says, this is the place you should consider. And I agree completely. Again, having been there, Greenville is a beautiful place to consider moving to, with lots of job opportunities, great schools. We mentioned the airport, but also, Greenville has an international airport. In fact, I flew nonstop on Southwest from Orlando to Greenville when I went there. But you're not that far from Charlotte and Atlanta. So if you're going to fly to
Oh, I
Europe, something like
know.
that, you can drive to Charlotte or Atlanta easily and be anywhere in the world.
Yeah, or even if you're just visiting Greenville and you want to check out, Charlotte and Atlanta, I won't say that the drive is easy to Atlanta.
No, it's not.
Especially, no, it's not. I mean, having lived there for 17 years, the traffic's gotten so much worse. But if you time it right, it should be a 2.5 hour trip, to Atlanta. And then Charlotte's only 90 minutes. And I would say if you're planning a trip, if you can fly into GSP, that's ideal, but it is more expensive. The other option I would consider is Charlotte, because it's a fairly easy drive from Charlotte. It's a lot easier drive from Charlotte to Greenville than it is Atlanta to Greenville. So just keep that in mind when you're booking your trips.
Yes.
And if I may just go a little bit more, press you a little more for, so here we have somebody watching this. Maybe they're watching it 2 weeks from now, and they're really thinking about leaving California, and they get a hold of you, and you are going to counsel them and try to educate them. If they're thinking about leaving, what are some of the first steps, and what are some things that you share with people that are leaving, whether they're coming to your city or to somewhere else? What would you tell those people?
Well, what I do is ask a lot of questions. I don't really tell them anything because I need to find out what is it that they're moving away from? What do they not like about their current situation, and what are they hoping to change? Because that'll tell me a lot about if we have what they need. So it's not really so much telling them something as it is asking them a lot of questions. So when I do an intake of a new buyer, or a new person relocating, I just ask a lot of questions, about what they're looking for out of life. When you wake up every day, what do you want access to? What do you want your life to feel like, at the end of the day? What do you want access to when you walk out your door? What do you want to see? What do you not want to see? And what activities, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do? So it's just really a lot of questions that I ask them to try and figure out kind of what they're hoping to experience that's different from their current life.
That makes a lot of sense. Would you say that it's 50-50 when you start getting down into the nuts and bolts? Do half of them say, well, I don't really know, or do the majority of them say, wow, that really sounds like that could be for me?
That's really a good question. It is about 50-50. Yeah. I mean, some people get cold feet and they're like, okay, do I leave, the devil that I know, or do I take a leap of faith and try something totally different?
Right.
It's like, I'm not kidding you. I've told so many people, I just cannot get over the courage that they have picking up and just moving across the country. I've done it before, but so I know how scary it is. So,
Shay, week after week after week, we get this comment from a lot of people. People get afraid of leaving, and they feel like they don't want to brag about it. They don't want to say, we're from California. Sometimes people are afraid or ashamed to say they're from California, which I think is ridiculous. And then,
yeah,
and a lot of people in
I agree.
communities are afraid that, you're going to come there and you're going to bring all the politics and all the negativity from California. And I always say that they're actually leaving all that stuff so that they can partake in your culture and the way you live your life. So can you talk a little bit about that with the people you worked with from California?
I'm going to say it in my best Southern accent. We don't care where you're from. We care about how you act.
A hard day.
If you can behave, you are welcome. You be kind to people.
That's a great answer, Shay. Thank you for sharing that. What else you got, Terry?
Yeah.
What else you got on your list?
I think that's about it. So Shay, you mentioned you're like a relocation guide or a get to know Greenville guide. Can you give us your email and then also nice and slow your phone number so that people can write that down and connect with you?
Sure. You can email me. It's just my name, Shay Felknor. That's SHAY F like Frank, ELKNOR @gmail.com. Or just text me or call me at 864-884-8651. Or you can just drop me a private message, in the
That's true.
Facebook group.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Terry, one of my favorite questions before we let her go, I always like to ask this, and I know Shay has a lot of them, but Shay, do you have one story or you have a family that really stands out in your mind that relocate maybe from somewhere else, hopefully from California, but a family that stands out in their story? If you could share a story about one of your favorite clients that left and came to that area. Do you have one?
David, that is so hard to choose because when you consider the amount of time you spend with somebody who's, uprooting their lives and coming here, and a lot of cases, I'm their only friend, and I'm able to keep those friendships. I won't let them go. They don't, just because they close on a house, they don't get to say goodbye to me. And so it's really kind of hard to pick. I think that the Kellys really made me realize how tough things were, for someone who was living a lifestyle that they just didn't feel was proper for their kids, and I just admired their love of their kids and their courage to pick them up and move them to a place they'd never even heard of. And, it was a tumultuous time because I spent 10 months with them building their brand new house, and it was their dream home, but the builder turned it into a nightmare. And it was, I guess that really stood out to me because the builder kept referring to them as lot 21. And I wrote this scathing email to the builder. It took me 7.5 hours because I had to go to collect, photos from this bank of photos that I had taken over 10 months and videos, had a bank of videos, and I put it all together to send to the builder to explain to them why we were canceling and why we needed our earnest money back. And it wasn't a small amount of money. It was pretty large. And they were saying, no, we couldn't have it back. But they messed up so badly. And I think I closed by saying, I know that in this transaction, these buyers are nothing more than lot 21 to you, but to me, they're the Kellys. And their life matters to me. So I did get their money back for them.
That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. And like I said, that I say it all the time, when our clients become our clients, they become our family, and they don't get, I love that. I'm gonna steal that one. They don't get to say goodbye. We don't, because I have remorse sometimes when they start to fade away a little bit. I'm like, wait a minute, where are you going? We're talking to our clients so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for always being there and being a mentor. If I have questions, you always have helped me and answered questions. Thank you for everything that you've done for this group. It's really, truly amazing. So this was a lot of fun. This went by fast, Terry.
Yes.
Well, I'm humbled by your comments. So thank you very much. I'm just glad to be a part of the group, and I'm glad to help anyone in any way I can.
Yeah, we love having you, Shay. It's been, I'm so grateful you've helped easily more than a dozen families move to the Greenville area. And I want you to know how much we all appreciate it. And I look forward to you helping a lot more people in our groups. And we've got a big announcement coming soon about maybe some other folks in other parts of the country you can help move to Greenville. So I'm looking forward to you helping even more people find a great home in a great neighborhood with a great culture and safety, security, all of that comes with living in the deep South, the Bible Belt. That's why it's the Bible Belt, because it's safe and secure
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
All
Well,
right.
thanks
Thank you
again
so
for
much.
having me.
Thank you guys. That was really
right.
awesome. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank
Bye.
Bye,
you.
everybody.